Picture this. You are standing in the middle of a really loud, completely packed restaurant.
Oh yeah, plates are clattering everywhere, people are talking so loudly, and there's probably some really loud background music too.
Exactly. Add to all that sensory chaos the fact that you are absolutely starving. Your blood sugar is completely crashing.
And the worst part is you have to try and order your food in English, and you're just not totally confident speaking it yet.
Right. It is incredibly stressful. Your brain just kind of goes into panic mode.
Oh man, I know that feeling so well. I just freeze up entirely.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Catch Up English Podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Daniel. We're so glad you're here today. Let's dive into our topic.
Today we are doing a deep dive into a really fascinating English learning curriculum. It's designed for beginners, specifically to teach you how to survive eating out at a restaurant.
But we aren't just going to look at the basic vocabulary today. We want to unpack the hidden cultural rules, the psychology behind ordering a simple glass of water.
Because it is never just about the water. So why do we panic so much in these situations? Well, think of your brain like an old laptop.
An old laptop with 1% battery left.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You are trying to run a super heavy video game, which is speaking a new language on a 10-year-old laptop.
And the restaurant noise is just draining the battery even faster.
Right. So the computer system just starts shutting down background applications to save power. And in your brain, those background apps are your ability to form polite, perfect sentences.
Wow, that makes so much sense. The source material actually talks about a beginner who visits a brand new Italian restaurant.
And what happens when the waiter shows up?
Well, the waiter speaks super fast, the place is loud, and the learner just panics. They just start saying yes to literally everything the waiter says.
Because they just want the interaction to be over.
Exactly. They don't understand the questions at all, and they end up accidentally ordering 5 different desserts.
Oh no, 5 desserts. I mean, honestly, that doesn't sound like the worst problem to have.
Right, but it definitely hurts your wallet. But seriously, this is cognitive overload. Your working memory is maxed out trying to translate words and filter out the noise.
So your brain just hits the emergency button. It chooses a flight or freeze response. And in a restaurant, freezing looks like nodding and smiling.
You just say yes to escape the social pressure.
Which is so interesting because a lot of native speakers might think a tourist is being blunt or rude when they order.
They just point and say, water.
Yeah. But they aren't trying to be rude at all. They have just lost the mental bandwidth for pleasantries. They are in survival mode.
So how do we fix this? How does this curriculum help learners when their brains are crashing?
Well, it doesn't start with big, confusing grammar charts. Instead, it teaches a framework of what they call survival words.
Survival words. I like that. It sounds like an emergency toolkit.
That is exactly what it is. There are 3 pillars to this framework. Pillar 1 is for the moment you walk in the door. You just say, a table for.
Oh, a table for 2, please.
Exactly. Then pillar 2 is for when you sit down, look at the menu, and have absolutely no idea what anything means.
Menus are the worst. There are so many weird food words.
Right. So you use your survival phrase, what do you recommend? Or what is good today?
That is such a smart trick.
And finally, pillar 3 is for when you are done and need to escape. You just ask for the bill or the check.
The bill?
Yeah.
That's the piece of paper that tells you how much money you owe.
Right. You got it.
Yeah.
Think of these 3 phrases as the scaffolding of a building. They are the beginning, middle, and end.
So even if the middle part gets a bit messy, the building doesn't fall down.
Exactly. And let's look closer at that second phrase, asking, what do you recommend? This is a brilliant linguistic hack.
A hack? How so?
Well, menus are basically massive reading comprehension tests, and you are taking this test while hungry and distracted.
Yeah, and sometimes you look at a huge menu and the only word you actually know is, potato.
We have all been there. So by asking the waiter, what do you recommend, you are shifting all that hard work onto them.
Oh, I see. You make the waiter read the menu for you.
Right. They narrow down a 4-page menu into 1 or 2 good choices. Then all you have to do is listen and say yes.
It changes a really hard reading test into a super easy listening test. That is genius.
But having the right words is only half the battle. You have to know how to use them in real life.
Yeah, in the wild. So how do we practice that?
The curriculum gives us a great dialogue scene. It's set in a fake restaurant called the Green Garden.
Well, let's break that down. Because these restaurant conversations are actually really predictable, right?
Very predictable. It is almost like a dance, and everyone knows the steps.
So the waiter comes over and says the standard greeting, and then they ask a very specific question.
Right. The waiter says, are you ready to order, or do you need a few more minutes?
That's the cue. That is when the customer uses the hack.
Exactly. The customer says, I'm ready. What are your recommendations?
And the waiter suggests the grilled chicken with potatoes.
Which sounds amazing. And the customer simply accepts it. No panic, and definitely no accidental 5 desserts.
It really takes the pressure off. You don't have to invent a creative new sentence. You just listen for the cue.
Exactly. Your job is just to play your part in the script. Now let's look at the exact words the customer uses to order that chicken.
Because they don't just say, I want chicken.
No, they don't. And this is so important. Saying I want is a huge trap for beginners.
Really? Wait, is it wrong to say I want? I feel like I say that a lot.
It's not grammatically wrong, Daniel, but it sounds very demanding. The curriculum has a strict rule here. You should say, I'll have.
I'll have, as in I will have.
Yes, I'll have the grilled chicken, please. This is what we call a fluency upgrade.
Okay, so it makes you sound more like a pro instead of a beginner.
Exactly. Let's do a quick language breakdown for our listeners. Let's upgrade some basic phrases.
Sounds good. I'll give you the beginner phrase, and you upgrade it.
Ready.
Beginner phrase, I want water.
Pro phrase. Could I have some water, please?
Well, that sounds so much nicer. Okay, next one. What is good?
Upgrade. What do you recommend?
Love it. And the last one. I want to pay.
Upgrade. Could we have the bill when you're ready?
Wow, when you're ready. That adds a lot of politeness.
It does. Let's actually turn this into a fluency builder. Listeners, wherever you are, I want you to repeat after me. Practice saying this out loud.
I'll practice too.
Great. Repeat after me. I'll have the grilled chicken, please.
I'll have the grilled chicken, please.
Could I have some water, please?
Could I have some water, please?
Fantastic. So why is this change so important? Because saying I want sounds a bit like a toddler in a sandbox demanding a toy.
Wait, I want the truck.
Exactly. But saying I'll have or could I have sounds like a diplomat gracefully negotiating a treaty.
A diplomat versus a toddler. That is a great way to picture it.
It softens a direct command into a polite request. It treats the waiter as an equal, not a servant.
That illusion of equality is a huge part of English-speaking cultures, isn't it?
Huge. Which brings us to our pro tip for today. Because knowing these polite words is useless if you don't know how to get the waiter's attention in the first place.
Oh, the silent dance. This is where the culture shock really hits for a lot of learners.
It really does. The curriculum gives a very explicit warning here. In English-speaking environments like the US or the UK, shouting, "Waiter!" across the room is considered incredibly rude.
Yeah, that is a massive faux pas.
But in a lot of other countries, it is totally normal. Snapping your fingers, raising your hand high, or calling out is just how things get done efficiently.
Right. I mean, if you grew up in a culture where you just call the waiter loudly, sitting quietly and waiting probably feels crazy.
It feels so passive. The curriculum instructs learners to just make eye contact and smile. Or wait until the waiter walks by and say very quietly, "Excuse me."
But wait, Sarah, what if you only have 30 minutes for lunch and the waiter's just completely ignoring you?
It's a great point. It can be super inefficient, but the cultural rule is so strong that breaking it has a high cost.
Like, if you yell waiter in a busy diner in New York, everyone will stare at you.
Exactly. You immediately brand yourself as an outsider who doesn't respect the local social rules.
Yeah.
And honestly, your service will probably get worse after that.
Oh, definitely. You upset the person bringing your food, never a good idea.
Never. The service industry in English-speaking cultures works hard to avoid feeling like a master and servant dynamic.
So yelling waiter shatters that polite fiction we talked about earlier.
Exactly. You have to subtly invite the waiter to your table. The eye contact and the smile basically say, "I have a request when you have a free moment."
Not serve me right now.
Right. So social survival is just as important as vocabulary survival.
So true. This has been such an amazing deep dive. Let's quickly recap what we learned today.
Good idea. We started with the panic of loud restaurants and how to avoid cognitive overload using survival words.
Like asking for a table and asking for recommendations.
Then we talked about the big difference between the demanding "I want" and the polite, diplomatic "I'll have."
And finally, we learned the cultural rule of getting attention with eye contact and a smile instead of shouting across the room.
Which really is a masterclass in social maneuvering, disguised as a beginner English lesson.
It really is.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder today. If the language we use shapes our behavior so much, does learning these polite rules actually change your personality?
Oh, that's deep. Like, does making quiet eye contact and saying, "Could I have?" make you a more patient person overall?
Exactly. Does stepping into a new language mean stepping into a new identity? Think about that the next time you're trying to diffuse the menu bomb at a new restaurant.
I will definitely be thinking about that. Thanks for learning with us, everyone.
Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.